Well, here we have it. Super cold is the worst cold ever going around. I'm Grid 7, and you may or may not have heard about this. You've probably heard a lot more sniffles around if you've gone out recently on a public transport. Perhaps there's that one person on the work call who's not muted and starts coughing fit before a meek, "It's not COVID, I've been tested." Or maybe you've been ill and agree with people saying this is no ordinary cold, but the worst cold ever, or super cold. Well, get used to it, because cold season has begun, and some people are already suffering. Nothing like this. One of those 24-year-old Rebecca London. No, one of those is 24 Rebecca London. The retail worker from Bournemouth. Not familiar with British city names, so sorry if I mispronounce that. Caught what she calls the worst cold ever at a festival. A normal cold for her would have a runny nose, sneezing, a bit of a sore throat, and feeling a bit run down. Yeah, that's kind of like me. I get that whenever usually the sore throat, little tickle in the back comes first, followed by runny nose, sneezing, and then ends with a cough that will either last for a day or a couple of days for me, depending on how it goes. But she continues, nothing like this. I barely slept. I'd wake up in the night just coughing, a constantly running nose, and feeling so tired, she adds. Rebecca did lateral tests, flow tests, and got negative results, but was ill for more than a week and was left wondering, is it ever going to end? And she's not the only one. Here are some Twitter people. Okay, seriously, anyone else been struck down by this non-COVID chest sinus infection? It's been 2 weeks and I'm exhausted. Very grateful Miss Rona hasn't paid me a visit, but this is something else. Never been this continuously ill before. Or this person, this is the worst cold I've ever had in my life. It may not be COVID, but it's linked to what's happened in the past 18 months. I will agree. When you shut everything down, you're isolated everybody, you're not doing your immune system much help. And to me, this is everyone that went and didn't lockdown and all that type of stuff. I'm afraid you're actually going to have a weaker immune system. That's just how it goes. We've actually been seeing a rise in the number of coughs and colds and viral infections. The numbers have been as high as you'd see in a normal winter, and the main reason is because of the easing of coronavirus restrictions. I just don't know about that one. We're mixing it in a way that we've been mixing over the past 18 months, that we haven't been mixing over in the past 18. And everybody's going out again, which people want to do. We're sick of being holed up. During the first lockdowns, we saw numbers of other infections fall. Gee, I wonder why. Nobody was going out. Nobody was getting infected. We think that was primarily due to the restrictions on meeting up. You don't say. And you're a doctor. A few more Twitter things here. This is legit the worst cold flu I've ever had. Feel like I've been hit with a bus. Or the person, got my first cold since January 2020, and I confirm it's one of the worst colds I've ever had. Fresher's flu on steroids. So while lockdown rules were designed to stop coronavirus spreading, they also stopped other viruses moving between people too. Yeah, gee, I mean, that's such a common sense statement right there. Gee, I mean, it's like these viruses are going to go through the walls or something. Now that we're going out, gee, let's open everything back up and wonder why everyone's getting sick again. I mean, really, people getting on public transport again. The common cold spreads again. Gee. Sorry, hit forehead with microphone. Maybe you heard that, I don't know. Most of these things are respiratory driven. So say somebody talks or coughs or sneezes, you breathe it in. Yeah. BBC, this isn't your best reporting here. Not mixing so much last winter has meant this year's government is trying to get more people than ever to have a flu vaccine. Health officials are worried as it will be the first year both COVID and flu will circulate at the same time. It circulated last year. Sorry. It did circulate last year. This is the second time. It's just now more people are out and about. Golly. More than 40 million people across the UK are being offered a flu jab, including for the first time all secondary school children up to the age of 16. What do I do about it? Firstly, remember 3 main symptoms of coronavirus. If you have one of these, get a PRC test. New and continuous cough. Coughing a lot for more than an hour or having 3 or more coughing episodes in 24 hours. Fever. A temperature above 37.8 degrees Celsius. I'm not very good at translating Fahrenheit. Sorry, my U.S. people, but this is BBC. Change in smell or taste. Either you cannot taste or smell anything or the senses are different to normal. If you have any of these symptoms, but still want to, if you don't have any of these symptoms, but still want to check, you can do a free lateral flow test. If you can't get one through your employer or place of education, you can get test kits delivered free to your home or pick them up. This is for anybody in the UK. If you're listening in the UK, here you go. Zoe, the world's largest ongoing study into the virus, states that there are millions of health reports. Many of the symptoms of COVID are now the same as the regular cold, especially for people who have received 2 doses of the vaccine. That makes it harder to tell the difference. These include sore throat, runny nose, headache, and sneezing. So it says a negative result from a lateral flow test is not reliable enough to be sure you're definitely not infected. So if your symptoms persist, it's best to get a PCR test to be sure. But if it's just a cold, most of the time these symptoms can be managed at home. This is one thing I actually do have a thing I'm still on. These symptoms can be managed at home if it's just a cold. Where are these frickin' treatments for COVID? Where are they? I mean, I've heard, I'm still hearing people go to the doctor, they've got COVID, and, just go home. And they don't tell you to take anything. I'm sorry, if you could take something, lessen the symptoms, doesn't that reduce your risk of it becoming worse? How many people could we have actually saved if we had been managing symptoms? Her recommendations is to have loads of fluids and rest over-the-counter simple painkillers for headaches and aches and pains. Even simple things like honey in a hot drink can help ease a sore throat. I mean, they're saying that for the cold. Can't you do that same thing for coronavirus? Would that help? I don't know. But they don't say anything about that. You can get loads of advice from your local pharmacist for minor coughs and colds. But if you become more unwell, if you cough up blood, have chest pains, if you have shortness of breath or chest tightness, then you need to seek medical advice. Yeah, if you cough up blood, get to the ER. Something else is going on. Freshers flu. Look, we don't want to put new university students off their exciting first few weeks, but freshers flu will be pretty much unavoidable. Ask 18-year-old Noor Hashmi, studying at the University of Edinburgh. She's been suffering the worst illness she's ever had. Normally I'm able to go about my day, but this time left me with muscle fatigue, a lost voice, and headache that meant I've stayed indoors. It's not actually the flu, though. It's just another version of the common cold. Add in the fact students' immune systems will probably take a battering from going out a lot, and you'll be vulnerable to it. Why are they taking a battering? Because they've been isolated for 18 months. They've weakened their own immune system. Freshers flu. Something else, I am dying. My entire flat is ACC coming down with the plague. You don't want the plague. Real life plague, I think the death toll or the death rate from that one was about a third or a half. No, it was, if we had a pandemic like the plague, things would have been much different. But I'll get, because luckily protecting yourself isn't rocket science. It's a case of eating well, getting enough sleep, and washing your hands regularly. And remember to register for your local GP if you're moving somewhere new. Nora can't wait to get back to socializing properly. Although I think it'll be some time before I'm socializing in a large group because everyone seems to have Fresher's flu right now, she adds. Yeah, there was one flu. I don't think it was the flu, but it was one of those cold things when I was working about 10 years ago, and I actually got reinfected twice from it. I was one of the first ones to go through, and then everybody else got it and gave it back to me, and I think it went through the office twice, at least twice. No, that was one of those. It was a small thing, and finally the boss says, "No, if you're feeling bad, stay home. We've got this thing where you can work at home. Stay home." And he did, which my job was to drive him. So, really fun job. Really nice guy. But let me know what you think about this super cold. You think maybe it's a direct result of the 18 months that we spent isolated? Maybe not 18. Maybe we're closer to 20, 22, something like that. Let me know what you think. Give a like, subscribe. I'm on YouTube. Come on over to Rumble, and I'll see you next video.